proper singing now. The thing at the beginning of our things.
What singing?
Like last few, we've done proper singing. This is proper singing.
Oh right, okay.
I got a bit of a cold, so I
Singing?
couldn't like let rip and everything. But
Bit of proper singing there from the mouth of manliness. Welcome to the mouth of manliness.
welcome.
Our hour of catharsis, where we talk about things and we're not afraid to talk about things, which is basically what we're all about. So hello from me, Nick Noyes. Hello from Brad Action.
Hello.
Hello, and we've got a guest, another long-haired beardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Adam.
Hello there.
Thank you
doing,
for coming
mate?
along.
Thank you for the invite.
It was nice. I tell you what, when I open the door and you see someone who looks like me, it's instantly it's like,
Yeah,
When
right.
we're going to be all right.
we know each other because our kids went to same preschool, and as you know, I live in Leon C, and it's quite a kind of conservative kind of.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's got its kind of like edgy side to it, but like you can imagine like the sort of mums and dads and that you get up to school, and I just remember it was one of the. Like I think I'd met Holly by that stage, and like I loved Holly. She's super cool. Always like she's got her own style and everything. And it was I think one of the concerts or something. You walked in, and I was like, "Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Like this is exactly what I'm looking for. Like
Yeah.
just someone who's just going to be on level and just like I knew straight away that it'd be no problems whatsoever. And it's us
I
against all
haven't
of
bumped
them.
into anyone like that around our school. Everyone around here is pretty like pretty hard
Yeah,
to be as nice as possible. They're pretty hard kind of people, and everyone's like it's mostly mums and the dads. Like the dads who are about are normally a bit older,
yeah.
and no one's got long hair.
No.
And then the ones who are like who have noticed I've got long hair, they'll be like, you know, we did camping over the school field, and some of the dads were drunk, and they were like, "Oh, you look like Dave Grohl." You must have had that.
Yeah, a couple of times, yeah.
I get it all the fucking time.
Yeah.
I had it when I had no beard.
Yeah.
When I was young, well, I looked like Nirvana Dave Grohl,
Okay.
and now I look like Dave Grohl.
So you really look like Dave Grohl like, through the ages, not just like fancy hair and beard.
Yeah. So, Adam, you're a nurse.
Yes.
How did you get into being a nurse? Because I think that's interesting.
Yeah, so my nan was a midwife, and then she always kind of said I should go into that. I originally was a chef when I left school.
I used to be a chef.
Yeah, I think it's a thing we do. I didn't really know what I wanted. I was an estate agent for a couple of weeks. I did
Wow.
loads of jobs, but I always cared. I've got a twin sister who's got cerebral palsy, so I naturally used to help at her school when I could. And I got a job as a healthcare assistant in a hospital, Southend Hospital. I did that for a couple of years, and then I was given the opportunity to train as a nurse, and they funded it for me, and kind of never. I did all different jobs. When I joined the NHS and Southend Hospital, I was like, I love this, and that was it really. I've never looked back. I've been in the NHS coming up to 20 years now.
Amazing.
So what do you have to do to be a nurse then? Is it a degree level?
It
My
was-
mother-in-law's a nurse.
Yeah, it wasn't when I started. So when I did it, it was a diploma. So you go to university for 3 years. So you do half. You're on a ward, and half the time you're at university. So I did my placements and A&E and all different places, and then I I was also doing my essays as well. It's changed now because back then you'd get your bursary and you did your diploma, but now it's degree, so you only get you have to get a student loan. So that's had an impact on the intake of nurses, I reckon. So
Yeah.
compared to before, where it has one of the biggest dropouts as well. So after the first term, because most university courses you do short hours, but in nursing you do like full on hours, and you do shifts as well. So you do like 6 weeks, you do nights, you do early, you do
Wow,
weekends.
drop right in it.
Yeah. And no one knows if someone claps, they see you in a uniform, they're not going to say, "Oh, you're a student." They're going to go somewhere else. So you're fully in it. So that's why it has one of the biggest dropouts, because you go from being at uni to this ward. Because I worked in hospital before, I think I had a bit of experience. So quite blessed in that way.
Yeah, it's kind of similar the way I did my probation. Really, is that I kind of started off doing it as like low grade, and then I did the degree.
Yeah.
And you do like half study, half the job.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you get
Yeah,
loads of time to do the study, and you go to university, and but it's only 2 years, which
yeah.
is cool.
That's not so bad, is it?
But yeah, obviously you're going to do much more serious shit. So you spent time on A&E?
Yeah, I worked in A&E. I'm quite lucky. I worked all over the hospital. But I did A&E as a student nurse, and I did it as a healthcare assistant to earn some extra cash as a bank. So yeah, I've worked all over the place.
Must see
yeah.
some mad
Yeah,
Mad.
yeah, I've saw a lot. I've seen like it's quite a long time ago in the hospital, but yeah, we saw a fair amount. Weekends were always really kind of intense. You got young people like really drunk. I mean, like paralytic, and then the next day, obviously waking up and really worried about what their mum and dad's going to say.
Yeah, of course.
You get, yeah, it was really great. It was a great experience, but you see a lot of people obviously mental health issues.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago, it probably was quite a bit behind. You had a few people who were in kind of hospital, and they'd be swallowing kind of cutlery and things like that. And I think we've moved on a lot, but back then it was put them in a side room and get a specialist nurse to sit with them. But yeah, you see a lot of things. It was amazing.
Well, it's more like an isolated case, maybe. But now, I suppose mental health is at the bedside for everyone. Is it a bit?
Yeah, well, they got CAMS, and they've got
What's CAMS?
so that's that's for children. So that's children, adolescent mental health services. So that's used for young people. But that you'd be referred to CAMS if you're in the hospital, or you would be seeing a psychiatric on call.
Right, yeah, of course.
It's different now.
Yeah.
But A&E, you still have that situation when you go into A&E and you're having a crisis, that you're in it's not like a many place you can go and have that moment. It's not the best set up for it, but I think they're getting better.
Yeah.
I haven't been in A&E or hospital for about 10 years now.
I did security in one A&E ward, and we had to go down to there's like a padded room, like an intake room. I can't remember what they called it. And apparently the woman, everything was obviously like flush and sealed in and everything. The woman still managed to tear off like one of the switches for the door control.
Well, that's the thing. If someone wants to do it, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot you can do about it.
Yeah.
I think the difference is often, like, when people are in crisis, I tend to say, like, go to A&E, but if you can, go to Basildon. Because they've got a mental health wing there.
And that's the key, yeah. They've got that there.
So you know you'll get reasonable treatment. And you'd like to think it's a good pathway into proper treatment afterwards. But quite often it's not. Like, even if you go in, like, they might section you for like 24 hours or 48 hours, I think. And you'll be sectioned for that period. But like the minute like you're okay, they let you go, and it's not always that follow-up care.
Yeah, that's
which
the issue.
you'd think would be the obvious answer. But then you get onto outpatient. So I'm an outpatient, and then I mean outpatients can be quite good as well. I don't want to diss the system too much.
No, not at all.
In many ways, like that system has worked for me. But it took me. I had to be at a point when I was confident to tell them what I wanted. Yeah. And the problem is if someone's in crisis, they're just not.
No,
exactly.
They're just not at all. So, so you went. You did your training. You became a qualified nurse.
Yep.
I bet that was nice.
Yeah, it was amazing. I had, unfortunately, I was set back for 6 months. My dad was ill, so I had to wait an extra 6 months. But it was an amazing feeling. I was just overwhelmed. And then I decided, so I was in the hospital. I've been in hospital for like 10 years altogether. So I decided to leave. But it was amazing. And it's a weird feeling, really. I didn't go to the, what do you call it? You know, when you celebrate.
Passing out.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I found it, I kind of struggled with all that. Like, I don't know, it's a weird thing, but I didn't want to do it. But I got my course and everything. But yeah, I was really proud. And
I think for me, I was the only one in my family who'd got a degree.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like, no one else had a degree. I was always the family fuck up. You know, I was always the one who was, I had mental health problems, but people didn't, my family didn't always acknowledge that. It was like, I was always drunk, I was always fucking this, and I was always in a band or whatever. And then it was like, I've got a fucking degree.
Yeah.
So I'm like, right, I want everyone to come to my fucking passing out.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And it was literally like an hour, really, and we went home again. But and it weren't like that amazing, but I just felt the need to just go, I'm not fucking shit anymore.
Oh, yeah, no, I think when you've worked hard at something, it's great. I think it's a bit of an anticlimax, though, isn't it? And then it's not until I did the job where I suddenly realised I was a nurse, and actually I had responsibilities. Though I left the hospital, I went into community. It was completely different. But yeah, it's amazing when you tell people what you do. They kind of quite interested. Some people are anyway.
Yeah. No, I get that though.
Yeah.
When people talk to me about my job, they're interested.
Yeah.
Instantly, kind of, oh, how's that working?
Yeah,
And that's quite a nice feeling.
and I think weird enough, when people like when I say I'm a nurse, and I imagine you have the same, they look at me and say like, they're quite shocked because I've got long hair and a beard.
Yeah.
They expect this certain kind of person, and I've never been that kind of person. My nursing's different as well. I'm not that I'm out there or anything, but this is where I am. But I think they always freaked out because I've got long hair and a beard, and almost like, you can't be a nurse.
Yeah.
So the whole male thing anyway, but the fact that I've got long hair and I'm not conventional looking nurse, it can go for you, it can go against you. But I find that.
I get this response when people are like, they expect a probation officer to be quite smart and everything. And like, that's, formally that's what I am. But they're always really shocked that I am. And then they go, but I bet you kind of get through the shit quick. And I'm like, yeah.
I think
Exactly.
definitely. I think it can break down. I think everyone has a different style, but when you're working with young people in a community or whatever you're doing, when you work with young people, I think when you can see someone who's not wearing a suit and kind of relate to it, makes it a lot easier. But, yeah,
I think like that very small thing. Like I'm like people I work with now, they'll go like, oh, look at your fucking rings, and they'll take the piss a bit, and then they're like, oh, let's have a look.
yeah, oh yeah.
And then they're much more interested, and I always get told, oh yeah, Nick's a fucking rock star.
Yeah,
And that means that basically like, they don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
Because there's like that bit where
it's a bit more of a human element.
Yes.
Well, I think definitely. And you're not someone in a suit. And you young kids that you work with, whatever you do, if they're having a hard time, they're used to seeing people in authority. So it's quite nice, I guess, not to see that. And we're not seeing that.
What do you do? So let's go into that then a bit more. So you qualified as a nurse, and then you said you pretty much then stopped working in the hospital.
Yeah, so I went to community. So I went to a school nursing in Brentwood. So you basically, when you're a school nurse, I've done a degree since then, but you work at schools. And back then when I used to do it, I used to give out condoms at school. Used to do like drop-in sessions. Yeah. It's changed a lot now. So we did a lot of that. So I did that in Brentwood. Then I went to Basildon, and that's where I worked for a mental health nurse, and we did set-ups for young people to come and talk about what's going on for them. And I used to meet a lot of the young guys because I was a guy that could talk to me. And it's funny because a lot of the time it would come out of the kind of condom conversation. We'd be talking about stuff, and then something else would come out. But so that's how I did that. So I went into school nursing. I went to Basildon. Then I got the opportunity to do my degree. So I did a year again, and I got my public health degree, school nursing, and then I did that in Hackney. So that was really great experience. In Hackney, there was a lot of kind of gangs going on, but Hackney had a really good infrastructure, public health wise. They had a thing called Young Hackney, which is like one of the most amazing things I've seen in a borough. Yeah, it's really amazing.
Isn't it funny though, because you think there was a period when Hackney was like the name was dirt.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But like I've been in Hackney quite a few times, like to talk about various different things with different organisations in Hackney to look at how we can do things better here. And Hackney, and like, I was thinking, I'm kind of Hackney. Actually, they're really fucking on it, and they're really good, and they actually have invested a lot in people.
Definitely.
Which is quite surprising. So when you you started working mostly with youths then?
Yeah. So school nursing's 5 to 19, but I think I was working with a bit of the older kids. Yeah, I think I did adult training nurse, but I kind of wish I'd done I was basically going to do my paediatrician as a nurse, but I didn't think I could deal with the young kids being really unwell, and I was quite young still, so I was quite aware of that. And I used to be a youth worker many years ago, so I kind of enjoyed working with young people. And then this opportunity came up in Brentwood, and I was like, yeah, definitely. I didn't really know much about the job, but it was quite appealing. And then straight away, I just loved it. And you just work with young people, and I've always been interested in mental health and kind of alcohol misuse and substance misuse. So it was kind of a really obvious thing for me to go. I used to volunteer at a homeless centre, so I kind of very interested in all that. So that's why I went into that. And then obviously safeguarding was what came out of that. And then that's what I specialised in now.
You must have seen so many changes in the infrastructure. Would you say 20 years?
Yeah, so I joined in 2001. So yeah, coming up to 20 years.
I can't get my head around that it was 20 years ago.
I
It's
know,
mental,
yeah,
isn't
no,
it?
it's mental.
If you work in public services, like you've got to be prepared for change.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
definitely.
what happens is they go right, you know, and it also really follows the government. So you think, oh shit, we've got this government, and oh shit, and as a worker, it's really quite scary sometimes. But actually, the gears roll so slowly
That is, yeah.
that the changes are very, very, very slow. And then one day you're like, oh fuck, hold on, we ain't got any staff.
Yeah. I think it's a subtle thing. So I think you'll notice a massive change when you go back to your original thing you did in the first place.
Yeah.
Nursing's very much like that, and so I can't mention an awards, but they did. There was things they were doing that they weren't. Nurses used to say we used to do this 10 years ago, and then a couple of years later doing it again.
Yep.
And I think by the
It's
time
really
you realise the
cyclical.
change, actually you've gone back to what you did originally.
That makes sense.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head. The government has a massive impact. You look at this current government and what they're putting into the NHS mental health. It's they're saying they put in so many billions, but every year you need to put 2% more, let's say, into the NHS mental health. But then they're not doing that. And then to be realistic, you need to put another 5% in, and they're just not putting the money into it. And mental health, social services, and health had a massive kind of drop.
I know, and then it's like people complain. They go, "But we put all that money."
Yeah.
in. It must be this. It must be them.
No,
It must be weird to see
I
it
don't like the trust ideas.
No.
I think
That is
when
the
things
thing.
become trusts,
especially with like, and with how the government is as well. But like, it must be weird for you seeing it being used as like a bargaining chip.
Yeah, it's
Stuff.
when you go into nursing, you never think, so the whole commissioning things changed. But when I went into nursing, I just wanted to help people, and it was very simple. Obviously, I've worked my way up because I want to do more, and I've had a family, and I want to obviously do the best I can for my family. But yeah, it's a weird thing, the NHS, and I know the flaws of it, but it's an amazing thing, and I'm very lucky to work for them. But yeah, it's a weird concept that it's a business to a point and needs to kind of run on so much money. But it's a strange concept. Really.
My mum's husband, he was accountant director for Great Ormond Street,
Oh wow!
and he's still he's kind of semi-retired. He's now like consultant for Gibraltar's their health service, and he's like. And from what he says, is it's a complete basically the administration is ridiculous. The administration doesn't work, and like you know, someone will fill in a form just to refer to another department within the same hospital.
Yeah.
And it's like, and like 5 people have got to be paid along the way.
Yeah.
And it's like that doesn't need to happen. But since they changed everything in the trust and commissioning, it's like, well, it can't happen any other way.
Yeah.
And he just basically says, like, the NHS is a brilliant thing and it shouldn't change, but they're running it into the ground just through those for the administration more than anything else.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of organisations have got caught up with that. But yeah, no, there's definitely a point. And I think even things like I work in Camden now, and we use a System 1 as our health records. But if you were to go to another borough, they use Rio.
Yep.
So you can't obviously share records. Now, when I tell people that they can't get their head around that NHS don't use the same records, that's just a community. Hospitals have their own.
Yeah, if I just tell you, the police don't.
Yeah, and it's
Really? Wow.
The police don't use. Like they use the police national database, but you can't go into it in another part of England and go into it because you all use a different system within the system. There is only one that covers it all. I can't remember what it's called. I'll tell you what, I used to know loads of this stuff. I can bury people.
The thing is, like,
But the
knowing
crazy
system-
thing is that, and then there'll be like something bad will happen, you know, like baby pee or something dreadful will happen, and then there'll be an inquiry, and they'll say you don't talk to each other, and they'll go, all right, we're going to set up a new system and we're going to talk to each other, but that system doesn't actually change anything.
So you get a serious case review. So if you think of your baby pee and everything, and unfortunately one of the things that comes out is about communication, information sharing. But I think we are more aware of it when we're talking about it. But yeah, something as simple as not having the same record seems quite crazy to me, but that's just the way it's gone, and that's how things are agreed.
There'll be intermittents, like you'll be able to get access to certain bits of information, like in an emergency, a car crash or whatever.
So things like that. I think for safeguarding, it's quite. It's a lot easier for me because when it comes to consent and stuff, if we're concerned about something, we can kind of. override consent, we can look into it and go along with social services. In other situations, it's not always that simple, but it's a little bit easier than that for my current role. But yeah, it is difficult. The sharing information, that's a massive thing that has an impact.
Even in those situations, it's not always a given.
Yeah, it can be a struggle.
Quite often, like say you'd have to get the parents' consent to share that information, and that parent might be the abuser.
Yeah, so that's
of course. Wow.
But you can't. But that means you don't instantly get the sharing of information. You can override.
Yeah.
But often that's like manager needs to talk to manager needs to talk to manager. So this is the dark world that people don't know.
Yeah, it is, and I think I work quite close to social services, so they do a Section 17, which is a child in need, or a Section 47 where they're child protection. They're really worried they don't need consent to do network checks. But so we're it's a little bit simpler than that. But you do have those situations where you don't know if the parent is the perpetrator, and it's quite different when it's a whole other subject we go into, but we're just thinking about domestic abuse. When the dad's the perpetrator or the father, everyone's on it. But when the mum's a perpetrator, it's completely different.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
They don't like removing them.
Those are your taboos.
That's interesting. Yeah.
You'd think that through something like that, you wouldn't hit the taboos. But you do. You hit the taboos all the way along the line. You know, there's going to be... And, you know, if you're working with... if you think social care... primarily a female workplace. So then if you're telling another mother that mother has like breached the roles of a mother and breached a taboo, and then you're saying I don't believe her, and they're going, but I'm a mother and I don't believe that. So you're hitting loads and loads of taboos and trying to breach these kind of basic human boundaries that people have.
Yeah, of course.
And I always find that really, really shocking because I'm like, what the fuck does that matter?
Yeah, no, and I think the thing is, if you look at stats with domestic abuse, it is very much generally it's male are the perpetrators. It definitely is. Yeah. But I think when it is the other way around, there's always a difficulty. But it is the perpetrators, unfortunately, generally males. But yeah, it's difficult when it's that kind of taboo. But if you look at a lot of the kind of child protection plans within the country, a lot of them are due to parents and domestic abuse. So it's one of those things that I think kind of government and anyone else need to really work on. Then there's a new domestic abuse bill that's come out as well, which should help that. But it is a really interesting.
I've seen actually. There's a few. They've changed some of the terms.
Yeah, well, coercive thing. Well, see, there was a lady recently who killed her husband, and she was sentenced to death. She went down for murder, but she's fought that, and she got just manslaughter, and she got released. And her sons were very much behind that.
Wow.
So that's coercive kind of things. But
But what happened? This is another thing I guess we were talking about earlier before we were doing the podcast was we do basically a lot of what probation is almost like an insurance company. You weigh up risk against other different different bits of information or different things within someone's life, and then you balance them out. Being a victim or being a child of domestic abuse is a massive key indicator for future criminality, and not just criminality. Normally, like domestic abuse is a big indicator for future sex offenders, that kind of thing.
Reoffending and like history repeating itself.
Yeah, but potentially worse.
Wow.
Potentially up in the game. So one of the big things you look for if you're dealing with a child sex offender is abuse within the family. And like that could be violence or just fucking standard like emotional abuse. Which is true though when you think about it, because I think about it like myself, and I think I was subject to emotional abuse from my granddad, and that's fucked me up. And I have homicidal thoughts all the time. So I think that's the thing. I think when you kind of get into this field, you can start relating. It's really hard not to relate stuff to yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's really easy to get sucked into a hole and get really bothered about.
I was going to ask like whether it ever.
Yeah.
Whether you have to. if you're faced with a decision and you kind of got a gut instinct about something, but there's like red tape in the way, or like you can't really
Yeah, I
say
think-
what you want to say, kind of thing. It
I
must
think-
get difficult.
Yeah, I think, like I say, I'm not saying that, but I'm very well supported, and we've got a really good team, and I've got colleagues that are really good as well. But I think with safeguarding, you can push it, because as long as I can present or I can show my concerns, you can really push it and say, actually, I'm not very happy about this. And social services are always trying to do their best. They're obviously under the same constraints as NHS, probation, all of the services. But we certainly, it can be difficult. I think some cases you have a crunch, but there's only so much you can do. A child protection plan can only do so much.
Yeah, of course.
But you know, it's very difficult. I think the job. I think you can get very frustrated, but then you do see the great work that's going on as well. So.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I used to
Definitely.
find as long as I'd said my concern, like they may not do anything with it.
Yeah.
I've said it and I've pushed it, and then I'm like, that's it then. You know, like as far as I can't do any more than that. There is process and policy between me and action. So I can't actually do any more. But I fucking said it, and I've made sure they heard me.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And I can't do any more than that, because now they're like, well, policy dictates that, because there is a rule at the end of it.
Yeah, and I think part of my role is to escalate stuff. So if someone's had a child protection conference and a school nurse or health visitor wasn't happy about the outcome, they can come to me and I will escalate it. But I think sometimes you feel like you're hitting a brick wall, but I think that's with any organisation. But I think when it comes to safeguarding children, there is definitely people are more aware of it now than they were
they're
years
more
ago.
willing to do.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot more difficult with adults. Like I work with the adult safeguarding team. I think they obviously have different constraints, but with children, I think people are a lot more aware of it, and they're always trying to do their best. Really, majority of the time.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
Yeah, and I think you have experience where it doesn't work out, but I think most people go into the roles that we're doing for the right reasons. And I think you're not doing it for the pay, because it's not like the kind of best pay, but you're certainly going in it for the right reasons. So I think, you're trying to get the best outcome.